Good day and welcome back to another DB Legends video. In this video we are going to take a look at the new event that has come to DB Legends in the form of the Fierce Fight Majin Vegeta. So it's a pretty interesting kind of event. Basically it's bringing with it obviously a brand new Majin Vegeta, which is something pretty interesting. I think not a lot of people obviously expecting a Majin Vegeta, but yeah, you can fight the event to get some of his Z power. Basically you will get your first Z power from the very first stage. You can then unlock a bonus battle stage to get Z power from him every single day. You can also get more Z power from the mission. So if you look at the breakdown, you get a couple thousand from beating the battles for the first time. You get a couple extra thousand from beating the challenges. You then get an additional 3,000 from the bonus battle rewards. You also get some more from the missions, and then you will also have a chance to receive some from a battle in future against basically a full power battle. But it's not necessary. You can get all the power for these units from obviously whatever, from the daily bonus mission. There's also a new gear or a new piece of equipment essentially that's dropped for him that also helps out. You can also exchange Fierce Fight medals for Z power as well, and you will get those from completing each stage. So what we're going to do is we are going to take on the event in the form of using a fully event exclusive team. So we'll use a fully event exclusive team to take on the whole event, just obviously to help people out. In terms of the exchange shop, you can get a whole bunch of Rising Souls, but I highly suggest just grabbing the Z power and the slot remover. Obviously it's going to be helpful for a lot of players, but yeah, overall I think it's pretty decent stuff. Nice value, slot removers, etc. So I always suggest picking them up, especially if you are free to play. Then in terms of the missions are pretty straightforward. The ones you're going to struggle with the most will be the friendship ones, but yeah, that's pretty much it. Guys, please remember when you are doing these missions that if it looks like you are missing a mission objective, it's usually because you haven't raised their friendship, or because you obviously haven't soul boosted them or trained them. So try and attend to that before you try and see what else you haven't done. Then of course there are the stages. So like I said, we're going to use a fully free-to-play team. We're going to try and use majority units that we obviously got during the anniversary, or units whose events are still up from the anniversary. So we're going to use units like the Universe 7 guys. We're going to be using Int Purple Gogeta, and yeah, we'll just fill up with the two Realm of the Gods units that came beforehand. So pretty strong lineup, pretty good lineup actually, really solid, all these free to play units, and we'll take on the event. Now there are some challenges. Try and complete these challenges as you go along, it will save you time. Most of them are to do with battling with the Vegeta character, battling with 2 or less. Those are kind of stock standard across the board, and then most of them require you to just perform a couple vanishing steps, a couple cover changes, nothing too crazy, some switches, pretty much anything like that. Guys, in terms of these Fierce Fight events and things like that, obviously I will show you how to complete the bonus battle stage, and I'll show you how to complete the challenge stage, and I'll show you how to complete the equipment stage. That is 3 fights, so it does tend to make the video quite long, so you're welcome to skip through to them if you need help on a certain fight. But for the most part, I will always try to show those 3 fights just so that people can see them. I don't generally run through every single stage, just because every stage has very similar challenges. For the most part, they're relatively easy, involving using 1 Vegeta or 2 or less characters, making sure that you vanish step, making sure that you cover change. It's really straightforward. So for me, for the most part, I don't really feel it's necessary to cover every single stage. If you are looking for that, then you are welcome to maybe go find hopefully someone else who covers it. But generally speaking, I just try to show that everything can be done with a free-to-play team or an event-exclusive team, and I like to pretty much leave it at that. I think that generally covers quite well, like the whole event and gives a good guide on the event. So as you finish battle 1, you will receive enough Z power for Vegeta, and then you can go about training and soul boosting him. Now it is just important to remember that you should soul boost and train Vegeta. I highly suggest that you do so. What I'm going to do now is I will cut ahead in time to where basically I have done all of the stages up to the final 3 stages, so the stages that get added after you clear battle 5, and then I'll just show you my procedure from there. So obviously, as you can see, we've now unlocked the 3 final battles, 1 for equipment, 1 is a daily bonus battle, and 1 is for an additional 500 Z power. So obviously all pretty straightforward. As you can see, we've completed all of the challenges to the event so far. Like I said, none of them are too difficult, mainly to clear with 2 or less characters, use a Vegeta unit and use appropriate cover or switch mechanics, and you should be more than fine. So generally speaking, that is kind of the okay function there. Then obviously I suggest you train Vegeta, so train Vegeta to max level, and then once you've gotten to max level, soul boost him. He doesn't have individual rising souls, so I highly suggest that you do this. It will make the challenge battles a lot easier. Also, if possible, start with the equipment battle, just because it will help you get pretty good equipment for Vegeta. But overall, that's really my main suggestion. Also collect your mission rewards so you can get whatever Z power you have associated, or whatever fierce fight medals you can pick up. You can maybe trade them in for rising souls if you need them, or for training material if you need that as well. So always make sure that you pick up the missions as they are completed. There's no interest that you gain from leaving missions uncompleted, just the sensation of finishing them all at once. So yeah, like I said, try and pick up some materials that you need to get going, or pick up the Z power from there if you need it. You can pick up an additional bit of Z power from the shop. You can get those medals by just skipping through this battle a couple times, and then you'll be able to exchange it, get the Z power, and hopefully increase Vegeta's power before you take on any of these events. Now, we're going to slot Vegeta in, of course, and then we're going to take on this event. There's no real requirement for this first one. You don't even have to actually use Vegeta. You only technically have to use Vegeta for 1 stage. So what we're going to do is we're just going to obviously use both units. Vegeta doesn't even have a battle bonus, so that's kind of a notable absence here. So yeah, obviously in terms of, Majin Vegeta himself, just to kind of talk about the unit a little bit kind of while I take on these stages in the background. So his main ability is Stubborn Pride. He restores his own health by 20% and ki by 50, destroys all of your own cards and randomly draws 4 new ones. He also has plus 40% to damage inflicted. So pretty solid, a pretty solid main ability there. I think, it's a very good skill to use. The thing is it guarantees drawing 4 new abilities. So if you only have 1 card left and you use it, you can instantly restore 3 extra cards and basically get an additional 50 ki, which is good. I think overall it's good. Maybe the health increase could have been a bit better. 20% is quite light. Maybe 30%. An extra 10% wouldn't have gone amiss, I think, for this guy. Then in terms of his unique abilities, he has 80% damage inflicted and reduces damage received by 50% when the battle starts. He will then apply more effects to himself per defeated battle member when this character enters the battlefield. So he will store his health by 10%, and then he will gain 30% damage inflicted and 50% ki recovery. So as soon as you switch him in, he'll basically gain a whole bunch of buffs. Now, obviously, that's really, really good, and really, really solid for Vegeta in general. So we obviously finished the daily stage. The next stage that we will be taking on is the equipment stage, or sorry, we'll be taking on the Z power stage, I should say, and the equipment stage. So ideally, I would suggest doing the equipment stage first, Not only will you get a whole bunch of Z power from completing the challenges, which by the way there are quite a few, mainly landing a special move for example, etc. But by completing it you also essentially will give yourself the ability to farm some pretty solid equipment for Vegeta. So back to Vegeta, obviously we spoke about his one unique ability being Saiyan's Fury, but he also has a second ability which applies the following effects. So he has plus 20% to damage inflicted for 15 timer counts when the enemy attack is over, and he restores 30% of damage received up to 30% of his own health. So that's pretty good. As long as he doesn't die, he can start regaining some health back, which is pretty solid. And then he applies the following effects to himself once 5 timer counts have elapsed from entering the battlefield. So he'll draw a special arts card, he'll also restore ki by 30, and he will also get 20% to special move damage inflicted for 15 timer counts. So it's pretty good. Basically he has a pretty solid, he has a decent kit. I wouldn't say he has an exceptional kit. Like I wouldn't say he has an amazing kit. I think Gogeta plays a lot better than Vegeta does. I think Vegeta is decent, but I think he plays a bit slower. And I think a lot of the game now is long combos, like long quick combos, high damage, and then obviously big switch-ins, big switch-outs. It's what makes units like Tapion so good. It's what makes units like Super Saiyan 3 Goku so good. I think what would have been cool is if they'd given Vegeta a similar effect to Tapion, where if he got knocked out, he had his final atonement and basically did a whole bunch of AoE damage. I think that would have been cool. Possibly maybe too cool for a free-to-play unit. They might be saving something like that for a summonable Aleph at some point or something like that. But yeah, I think it definitely could have been something really cool. In terms of special move, he gets 25% to special move damage inflicted for 15 seconds upon the firing of the attack. This overall is pretty solid because he does have the ability to draw quite a few special cards. So that's pretty decent. And then he also has a special skill. This will restore his own vanishing gauge by 50%, nullify any attribute downgrades and abnormal conditions, and reduces the next bit of damage sustained by 20%. And it applies until the combo is over. Obviously, if the enemy does not combo, then it will just apply to the specific attack as it occurs. It will not apply to the full combo. So most people obviously break up their combos. This, generally speaking, will only apply to the first attack, but it's still something decent. I think restoring his vanishing gauge is pretty decent, although it does play quite inefficient. Like you basically are like if you get a lot of special skills, you can actually kind of end up being a bit ineffective. Generally, I would like if they made it draw like a strike card or something as well, just because that would have, I think, given him better tempo, considering he doesn't really have any other way to generate tempo as a unit. So I think overall, I would probably say that's what they should have done. I think some small changes could have really made Vegeta better. Make him heal by 30% instead of 20%, and make him, give himself a strike card with his special skill, and all of a sudden he's looking a lot better. So now that you've obviously completed the other two stages, you're now going to want to move on to the final challenge stage. This stage is a one-on-one only, and does give you obviously 500 Z power. So it's pretty impactful. A lot of people are going to struggle with it a little bit, but just do the basics and you should be fine. Also, just do the daily bonus stage for a couple days, and eventually Vegeta will gain some stars, and all of a sudden it will be dramatically easier. Also, try and get some equipment for him. Like I said, grab that equipment from the equipment stage. You'll have a much better time, and you should be fine. Obviously, this is the hardest one, because can't really bring in an ally, so it's a little, although I don't think the fight is technically any harder, I think it's just more difficult because there's a lot of pressure for you to essentially perform well on your own, which I think is kind of where it's at, I think, overall. In terms of everything, though, I think for the most part it's a relatively straightforward fight. I think it's relatively simple, and like I think you should be fine. Obviously, it will be tough. It's especially going to be tough if you haven't collected the other if you haven't collected the other event exclusive units or like anything else like that. I think 100% it could lead to being not so great, but I think for the most part you should be all good. I think everything will be pretty straightforward and fine. Obviously you can see here that I am taking a decent chunk of damage, and I actually end up cutting it quite close, even though I look like I'm in an advantageous situation. I screw up by trying to hit this ultimate attack here, and that kind of throws me out a little bit, and then all of a sudden I end up getting chunked down pretty rough, like by the AI. So yeah, it can be tough, 100%, and so you just need to obviously keep pushing and trying and doing the best you can. I also lose this, which doesn't help as well. So yeah, a couple small mistakes there that ended up making the ending a little bit tighter than I wanted it to be. But we managed to clutch it out. We managed to prevent the Rising Rush. We pull a strike card, and he also does, so that ends up going well. And then yeah, from there we managed to wrap everything up. So we managed to evade the Rising Rush, and then we follow up, good damage on Boo, and then done. So yeah, that's the challenge battle done. Was pretty rough. You don't have to take it on obviously like this. You can farm equipment, you can raise the stars of your Vegeta through the daily battle. There's plenty you can do. You don't need to do it like this. So it's completely up to you guys. I personally, I think, it's fine to do it that way, but I think, you can definitely make it a little bit easier for yourself, if you want to. Just remember, obviously, that after this you will still have to run the daily battle bonus a couple stages to get your missions done. And then also you are going to have to, essentially, kind of raise the friendship of the unit. It is easiest through the Greatest Showdown event or through the Let's Fight upgrade missions, stages. Those are going to raise your friendship the fastest. But yeah, bye.